Denver Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy is the number one trade target that you need to be going after right now if you're rebuilding. We will explain why next in this episode of Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Madjuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Kate Madjuk. You can check her out on Twitter at Kate Madjuk. Just a little programming note. Kate and I are on all week long. Matt and Ryan are off. They will be back next week. So that means tomorrow and Friday, we will be your hosts. So make sure you tune in for that. But today, Kate, we are talking about some trade targets at the wide receiver position if you are rebuilding in your Dynasty League. And I know that you have a player that you're really excited about. Who is it?
It's Jerry Jeudy, Denver Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, who we're gonna argue for argue's sake that Jerry Jeudy had a really nice breakout season in 2022, right? Like maybe doesn't hit the bill in terms of like exciting breakout. Like it wasn't like Jerry Jeudy didn't win you your league last year.
No.
Call a spade. That's fine. But Jerry Jeudy had a absolute career season, and like from a fantasy standpoint, actually didn't do you too bad. Finishes the overall wide receiver 21 and half PPR formats. Had a really, really solid performance, Marcus. Looking at like the metrics, I think we're starting to see a little bit of what made Jerry Jeudy so special coming out of the draft. And that going back to like his player profile, he's only 24 years old. Was touted as one of the best route runners in, the entire draft class, which hasn't necessarily come to fruition just yet. Like last year ranked 50th percentile in terms of separation. But like, again, overall had a really solid year, 90th percentile in yards per route run, 91st percentile in yards after the catch per reception. He did really well. And that was amidst a season where, Marcus, there was a lot left on the table for this Denver Broncos offense. And I think that, the move with Sean Payton is going to, I hope, get Russell Wilson back to form. I also think just having another year outside of Seattle is probably going to do him some good. A little bit more of that separation, I think, is very much necessary. But between the injuries at the wide receiver position for the Denver Broncos, Courtland Sutton himself, like, hasn't been the picture of health. I think you have a little bit more confidence in Courtland Sutton, generally speaking, than I do. But I just think there's so much opportunity here. Even if this team does want to run the ball, I think taking the shot on Jerry Jeudy, who's still a very young player, coming off a breakout season, like why not, go back to that initial player profile where, we know he has speed for days, yards after the catch ability. He's an excellent route runner. I do think we need to get back to that initial player evaluation because I think the situation is finally making sense for all of those qualities to come together and actually, show themselves on the field.
Now, I could be a little biased when it comes to draft capital, but I look back at that 2020 draft where he went, I believe, 15th overall.
15th, yep.
Yeah, a couple picks later was CeeDee Lamb. A couple picks after that was Justin Jefferson. And if you look at the ADP on Dynasty League football, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 3. I mean, going into that draft, a lot of people, including the Broncos, thought Jerry Jeudy was the best receiver in this class. The good news is if you're in a rebuilding mode, you can get Jerry Jeudy significantly cheaper, wide receiver 27. I think you could trade somebody who's maybe a little bit older. Maybe you trade a Deebo Samuel who's, going to be 28 this year. You flip him for a Jerry Jeudy. You get, a receiver that's, 3, 4, 5 years younger. I think that makes a lot of sense. I would also say that
27 in Dynasty startup ADP, which
so cheap.
There's not a lot of risk there for the upside. Like I said, last year alone in a really bad season, finished as the, what did I say, wide receiver 22? Wide receiver 21. 6 spots ahead of his dynasty startup ADP. He's got the draft capital. He's got the youth. Like, what am I missing here?
Nothing. And if he ends up having another, let's say it's an 1,100-yard season with 7 touchdowns, like I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities at all. That seems like a very likely outcome. I think all of a sudden you'll see his ADP rise from wide receiver 27 to would it shock you if he was wide receiver 18 at this time next year? No, not at all.
No.
And you're talking about a 25-year-old receiver with the Denver Broncos then.
Yeah, and again, the injuries I think are mounting up for the team. Tim Patrick, obviously, just a horrible bout of luck for a guy that is so beloved in that receiving room. But you've got to wonder, is he able to come back? The torn ACL, the ruptured Achilles, like it's piling up, and the opportunity is never going to be more plentiful than I think it is for Jerry Jeudy this year. And I hope that Sean Payton makes the difference.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Sean Payton, I just wanted to say this. I am not a sources guy. I do not have a lot of sources in the NFL. That's just not my job, right?
Per source.
However, I do know somebody that's close to the Broncos organization that says that Sean Payton absolutely loves Jerry Jeudy. Loves him. Now, that doesn't mean that he's going to be 1,400 yards or anything like that, but there is a lot of respect from the head coach. And I think to me, and I think to Sean Payton, he is the clear-cut wide receiver 1. And I think if Russell Wilson struggles to get Jerry Jeudy the ball, I don't think it's going to be Jerry Jeudy whose role diminishes. I wouldn't be surprised if Russell Wilson can't get Jerry Jeudy the ball, Russell Wilson's not going to be the quarterback for very much longer in Denver. I think that's how much Sean Payton loves Jerry Jeudy.
I didn't even know this. You didn't drop that into the show notes here, Marcus, but I'm loving it, and I'm happy to hear it. And honestly, like you go back to what, again, you go back to the player and the player that Jerry Jeudy is. Try to remove all of the extraneous factors, the quarterback play, etc. And
Yep.
Look at what Jerry Jeudy can do. Excellent against man coverage last year, kind of struggled against zone. But like I think, Sean Payton, especially if he likes him as much as you say he does, he's going to be.
I think he likes him, Kate.
he's gonna be coaching some things up. He's gonna be scheming to ensure success for Jerry Jeudy.
Can I give you a couple of trades really quickly? Because these are some ones that are interesting to me. If you're trying to go out and trade for Jerry Jeudy, I've got one here: Hollywood Brown and pick 111 this year for Jerry Jeudy.
I'll take Jerry Jeudy.
Okay, Jerry Jeudy for Cortland Sutton and pick 111.
Jerry Jeudy smash.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy for Tyler Lockett, 202 this year in a 2024 second round pick. That one's a little closer for me just because of the draft picks, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
That one's a little bit closer for me as well. But I think that's the direction. Like if you have a Tyler Lockett and you're looking to rebuild, like Jerry Jeudy, that's the kind of move I'd be looking to make. Like if you have a DeAndre Hopkins, if you have a Tyler Lockett, like these aging wide receivers, I think a guy like Jerry Jeudy is the perfect trade target.
Yeah. There's a lot of Jerry Jeudy trades. This one I think is ridiculous, but Elijah Moore for Jerry Jeudy, I think that's just kind of where we're at right now, where people are so
kind of disrespectful.
It really is, but I think there are some Jerry Jeudy managers out there that have kind of ridden this ride for the last 3 years, and they're ready just to cash in for a different distressed asset. Go out and make some offers for Jerry Jeudy right now, because I do think he is the absolute best target that you can get if you're rebuilding in your dynasty leagues right now. Okay, let's talk about some rookie wide receivers that we are interested in if you are rebuilding next. This episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. August is here, and you know what that means. It is the official start of fantasy football drafting month. Get championship ready for your home league by trying out Best Ball on Underdog Fantasy. All you have to do is one live snake draft, no waivers, no trades. Underdog sets your best lineup every single week. Try it out with Underdog's Best Ball Mania tournament. The largest fantasy football contest of all time is back, and it's even bigger with $15 million of total prizes up for grabs, including an absurd $3 million going to the winner. That's absolutely insane. Last year, the winner drafted their team in July, so don't wait around. Draft now before the preseason games start. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store and sign up with promo code LOCKEDON to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That is Underdog Fantasy promo code LOCKEDON. We would love to draft with you. So if you want to do a draft, just send me a message on Twitter, send us a notification. Make sure you're using that promo code LOCKEDON, though, to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. All right, Kate, let's talk about some rookie wide receivers that we are interested in grabbing if you're in rebuild mode. Now, these can be during your rookie drafts. These can be, before the season starts. But who is the rookie receiver that you want to grab for a long-term process here?
I'm looking at wide receiver, Chargers wide receiver Quentin Johnston, who first round draft capital. You mentioned we don't like to be too favorable towards that first round draft capital.
We can't be very
We've seen
biased.
The highlights,
yeah.
Just under 6'3", 208 pounds, 96 percentile wingspan, like absolutely ridiculous. But what he brings to the table is just absurd athleticism for his size. He's a freak athlete with that size speed combination, ranked 93rd percentile with over a 40-inch vert, 97th percentile in the broad jump. Like, this guy's a freak, right? And physically watching him on the field, and it's really funny that they're on the same team. He does remind you of a Mike Williams, but when it comes to like testing, he's actually way more explosive than Mike Williams was. And, Mike Williams was drafted 7th overall.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at Quentin Johnston, right? You look at his position on this team. Now, with the addition of Kellen Moore, we're going to expect that they're going to be targeting these wide receivers a bit further downfield. A lot of this offense with Lombardi has been, peppering targets to the running back position, which, Austin Eckler fantasy managers aren't going to complain about, but it has limited the upside of this receiving core. Now, enter Quentin Johnston with that first round draft capital, with that situation where he's now tied to, his quarterback of the future, Justin Herbert, the highest paid quarterback in the league right now, for the duration of his rookie contract. That gives you a lot to like about Quentin Johnston. Now, I think there's, some refinement that Quentin Johnston can work through. Didn't have like the most reliable hands in the world, but like so good downfield, and so much acceleration there. Like, his body and the way that he moves isn't normal for his size. And in addition to the straight line speed, I think he can just be really dangerous in the open field once he has the ball in his hands. Now, looking at potential opportunity, right? It feels like a crowded situation right now with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, but Keenan Allen has a potential out on his contract. So, coming up into 2024, he's going to be entering his age 32 season.
Yep.
He'll be a free agent in 2025. Now, it seems like the team could be willing to move on. Mike Williams also, I think it seems really conceivable that one of these receivers is not on the team in 2024.
Why not both?
Whether that's or perhaps both. 2024 is the final year of Mike Williams' contract.
I would not be surprised at all if this is a situation where Quentin Johnston is wide receiver 3 this year, but by 2024, he's the clear-cut wide receiver 1. You mentioned Keenan Allen's age. I would almost be shocked if he's on the team next year. There were some rumors that they tried to trade him a year ago. Mike Williams turns 29 this year, which is, it's not old for a receiver, but it's kind of old for him because he's just been somebody who's dealt with nagging injuries for his entire career. I think Johnson's somebody who, if you don't trade for him now, maybe you wait into the season a little bit when his role is still growing, and then you just wait to 2024 where he could easily get 120 targets a year from now. I don't think it's all that dissimilar from like when CeeDee Lamb was drafted by the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys took him at 17. He was the clear-cut third wide receiver during his rookie year behind Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. But by year 3, he's getting 165 targets, right? I think that could happen even faster for Quentin Johnston. And when you mentioned the quarterback, he's tied to Justin Herbert. He's tied to Kellen Moore in an offense that I think is going to be one of the highest scoring in the league. He's somebody that I really, really want to have on my dynasty rosters.
Yeah, and like you said, would not be at all surprised to see if he like plays this year as the wide receiver 3, which, from a rebuilding standpoint, I don't know that you need to like go out, especially, in the middle of training camp hype. I don't think right now is necessarily the moment to go out and trade for Quentin Johnston.
No,
There's plenty of
no.
highlight plays. I think the moment that you wait for is, a big game for Mike Williams. Wait until we see that maybe Quentin Johnston isn't the team's wide receiver 1 ahead of this year. Like, wait until that becomes glaringly obvious, and maybe that Quentin Johnston manager is going to get a little impatient and get those itchies. But that's my rookie. You have a rookie as well that you're targeting in Dynasty Rebuild, so let's hear it.
Yeah, it's a little bit cheaper. It's Rashee Rice at wide receiver 55. For the most part, if you haven't done your rookie drafts right now, you can get him top of the second round. I have seen him sneak into the back half of round 1, but for the most part, you can get him in round 2. I just want as many wide receivers as possible that are attached to Patrick Mahomes, and I just need one of these guys to hit, because we know that Patrick Mahomes is going to flirt with 5,000 yards this year. We know that he's going to be conservatively, Kate, 35 touchdowns this year. Is that fair?
Very conservatively.
Yeah,
yes.
Very conservatively. Somebody is going to get these targets. And I don't think it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think his role is pretty clear as a field stretcher. We know Travis Kelce is going to get his numbers. Who is going to be the Juju Smith-Schuster that's 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns, even if it's unspectacular? I think it's Rashee Rice, who has the second round draft capital, who was amazing at SMU in the slot and on the outside. He's already has a connection with Mahomes. We've seen it in camp. Kadarius Toney can't stay healthy. Sky Moore, we saw nothing as a rookie, which prompted the Chiefs to go out and spend another second round pick on a slot receiver.
We didn't see nothing. We saw some mistakes. We saw,
which is almost worse, right?
Yes, that's my, it is. It feels worse than if you had seen nothing at all.
I think Rashee Rice is just one of these players that it kind of checks all the boxes, right? Production, size, athleticism. I think 99th percentile in RAS. For that price, I want to gamble on him, sit him on my bench, and just wait, because I think something is here with him. I just won't be surprised if it happens. Maybe not this year, but in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, I think you're on point here. I mean, really, there's not a ton of risk for the upside that comes from drafting a wide receiver that's catching balls from Patrick Mahomes. Period.
Yeah, this is the thing with the wide receivers. You can build your wide receiver room. If you're rebuilding and the goal is not to win this year, if you grab Jerry Jeudy, Quentin Johnston, and Rashee Rice, and then, obviously you're going to have some fillers in there, but those are your guys kind of moving forward. I think you could have a really, really strong and explosive wide receiver unit kind of going into the future. And it doesn't really cost you. Doesn't even cost you a top 20 player. You might be able to get all 3 of those guys in a trade, right? If it ends up working out that way. So those are 3 of the guys that were mentioned. I've got one more that I want to talk about next. All right, Kate, the last receiver here that I think you should go out and trade for in your dynasty leagues right now is Gabe Davis. And to me, this is the perfect post-hype receiver to target, right? Everybody was excited about him last year. I remember going to the Fantasy Football Expo. He was being drafted in, I think, the 4th round in some of the drafts that were there, which is absolutely insane. Had the best year of his career. Every number was up across the board, but dealt with a high ankle injury. And all of a sudden now his ADP is wide receiver 51. And I don't get it. He's only 24 years old. He's tied to one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Josh Allen. And he's going to produce like a top 32 receiver this year, and it doesn't cost you hardly anything.
Yeah, I definitely like I've been a Gabe Davis skeptic, right? But like finally this ADP makes no sense for the kind of production that you know that you can get. So what I like about this pricing for Gabe Davis, right? Like we know that there are a lot of ups and downs, and that's part of the risk, and that's part of the profile of the kind of player you're going to get with Gabe Davis. Now, this draft cost capital,
Yeah.
this is going to enable you to build like if you were not looking for your earlier wide receivers to be, boom bust, fill out your receiver room with some really, just reliable players game after game. And then boom, you have Jerry Jeudy as like your wide receiver 4 at
Yeah.
this point, who you can leave in the flex essentially, as long as he's healthy. And you don't need to ask much of him, but he could win you a week any single game. And that is, I think, what finally makes Gabe Davis so appealing.
And it costs you nothing to get him. Here's some recent trades on Dynasty League football that are just mind-blowing to me. Gabe Davis in a 2024 third round pick for a 2024 second round pick.
What?
Yeah. These are it's wild. Here's another one. Gabe Davis and Tank Dell for Kadarius Toney.
Oh my God. Gabe Davis and Tank Dell. Hello.
Yeah. All right. Here's another one. Gabe Davis and Devontae Smith for DK Metcalf.
I mean, are we serious?
People are just so out on Gabe Davis after investing in him heavily last year. Again, this is another one. This one's from a month ago, so it's a
It's
little
a
outdated.
fire sale. This is what that is. It's a fire sale.
Gabe Davis for a 2024 third round pick. Like I'm telling you, people are so out on Gabe Davis after not having this monster year that they're willing to just get rid of him for future assets. And I know when you're rebuilding, you typically want to stockpile those second and third round picks, but eventually you got to use them and eventually they're going to turn into players. Why not turn it into a 24-year-old wide receiver that is a clear cut wide receiver 2 on his team with Josh Allen throwing him the ball? This just seems like a no brainer to me.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I don't think there's like any risk. I mean, like
Nothing.
the third round pick that you might be sending for Gabe Davis, that could literally be anything. So yeah, I'm
Could be
gonna
Gabe
take
Davis, right? Like
it
that's
could be
the best
Gabe
case.
Davis.
That's the best case scenario when you're spending a third round pick. Like, hey, could this guy eventually be a Gabe Davis player? Maybe.
Hopefully. And like again, we talked about with Rashi Rice, the tie to a really good quarterback, like Gabe Davis tied to Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They have a connection. That there's a lot of potential for touchdowns to be scored. Um,
It's just too easy.
eh,
This is cheating. Go out and get Gabe Davis right now. Stash
it's
him on your
like
bench.
giving your league mates a noogie and
Yeah.
stealing their lunch
Yes.
money. Except,
Absolutely.
I don't know, maybe that's bullying. Don't bully your league mates.
Except if you want to go get Gabe Davis, because he's so cheap right now. All right. So again, Jerry Jeudy is the highest end receiver that we're looking to get because he's 24 years old. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 there. Still has that elite draft capital, which we know that matters. Sean Payton loves him. Go out and get Quentin Johnson and Rashi Rice if you're looking for some young rookie receivers, and Gabe Davis, that post-hype breakout receiver going into year 4, and you will be all set at the wide receiver position. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, we're going to finish out this segment or this week of shows by doing the tight end position. Some guys that we like there, including a couple of rookies that we're really excited about. Be sure to tune in for that. Friday, we're going to answer your Twitter questions, so make sure you send them in to me at Marcus_Mosher or at Kate Majuk. We are free and available on all platforms. Go check out our show on YouTube. And we will see you right back here tomorrow, everybody.